Hello everyone, welcome to the big white pill of the clown decade. Yes, it appears that within the clown decade we will actually have some victories on the front of the right wing. Or anti-woke brigade, or whatever the hell you want to call yourselves. I don't really care, I'm just really happy with this news. That news being that the ministers were blindsided by BBC licence fee freeze. Yes, for those of you that don't know, there appears to be a full frontal assault on the BBC by Nadine Dorries, the Culture Secretary. Basically the one person you want in Parliament to be anti-BBC. A Cabinet Minister has accused the Culture Secretary of blindsiding colleagues by announcing plans to freeze the BBC licence fee without proper consultation within the government. Theresa Coffey, the Work and Pension Secretary, is understood to have raised concerns about the rushed nature of Nadine Dorries' announcement of the 2-year freeze, which was brought forward by Downing Street as political pressure on the Prime Minister intensified. Coffey is understood to have told the Cabinet that implications of freezing the licence fee on BBC programming and budgets should have had more thought and discussion. I think we've had enough thought and discussion on the BBC with all the garbage they come out with nowadays. I think it's the right move. Her complaint was rejected by Dorries, Chad, who argued that the decision was the right one and that a wider discussion was needed about replacing the licence fee when the present charter comes to an end in 2027. So there you go, within the clown decade we will have no more BBC licence fee, no more secret police knocking on your door asking to come in, Governor, to check if you've got a licence for your BBC, even though you can just tell them to go away. Boris Johnson is said to have backed Dorries, insisting that proper processes were followed. Sources close to Coffey did not deny that she had raised concerns, saying that reflected her belief in the importance of the BBC. So just for a bit of extra context, the reason why Coffey, the Pension Secretary, is having a bit of a kerfuffle over this is basically because pensioners over the age of 75 get their licence fee for free. They basically get free entertainment through the BBC licence fee. So obviously if you change the model in the way it's funded, it's going to be quite difficult to get people over 75 to get it for free. It's going to be difficult in terms of you'll actually have to put a new system in place. It's probably not actually that difficult. So what's lovely about all this is that people who love the BBC, i.e. the worst people imaginable, all get a bit loopy when something they love and something they rely on for an income of over anything I'm probably ever going to see in my life start whinging about how their lives are going to be ruined and try and get you on an emotional level. Oh, don't you just love the BBC when it ruins Doctor Who? When it comes out with Around the World in 80 Days, which is just garbage according to everyone I've heard from. I've not seen it myself because I don't want to watch them ruin a classic. So of course the first person the Times go to is the BBC Director General. So the BBC Director General has warned that the corporation faces a £285 million funding shortfall as a result of the freeze in the licence fee and will inevitably force to cut programmes and services. Get in. Asked what programmes could be cut, Tim Davie told the Today programme on BBC Radio 4 that everything's on the agenda. Pressed on the future of BBC 4, BBC 2 and Radio 5 Live, he said, people clearly and rightly are worried about what the £285 million cut in terms of 2 years flat brings, but also as an organisation we need to reshape ourselves for a digital age. I'd love more detail on that. But unfortunately, with how quickly this decision was announced, there really isn't much more detail on what programmes and what channels are getting cut, because honestly, BBC 3 needs to go. They need to stop making these really stupid recreations of, say, War of the Worlds and Around the World in 80 Days, because they don't really add anything from the original. If anything, they take away from it. For example, in War of the Worlds, the whole theme was about imperialism and why it's bad. So they used Edwardian Britain pre-World War I as a backdrop, when we were very imperialist, to say, maybe Britain bad. So yeah, I really don't see why the British government would force at gunpoint on its own citizens a corporation that seems to hate their own countrymen. Despite what these celebrities would tell you, because from the Metro, Dan Walker, Gary Lineker and Hugh Grant slam nutjob government amid plans to axe BBC licence fee. It's 43 pence a day. Yes, and I'm thinking of all the pot noodles I can buy with that money instead. Dan Walker, Gary Lineker and Hugh Grant are among the stars defending the BBC after it was hinted the controversial licence fee would be scrapped. And I can't imagine that it's because people like Gary Lineker are paid over £1 million a year by the BBC. Reacting to the news, Dan Walker, BBC Breakfast presenter, shared an image on Twitter of the different TV and radio channels aired on the channel alongside the caption, 43 pence per day. And on screen now is the image, and honestly, the only one I really use nowadays is BBC iPlayer. I basically never watch live TV, I never listen to radio, and even then when it comes to BBC iPlayer, most of the good stuff from the BBC isn't even on there anymore. I mean, for example, Amazon Prime recently came out with the Armstrong and Miller Show, a sketch show that originally aired on the BBC, and I've been watching that on Amazon Prime. So what do I need the iPlayer for? If I want to watch comedy, I can watch better comedy elsewhere. In a later tweet, Walker44 clarified, "I'm well aware that the BBC makes mistakes and needs to change, but the media landscape would be much poorer without it." There's no way we can know that. Those 3 letters are trusted and respected around the world, apart from in Britain. The TV presenter recently completed in the latest series of Strictly Come Dancing, and who knows that? Barely anyone, because barely anyone watches the BBC. I'm joking, by the way. Strictly Come Dancing is one of their more popular programmes, because it is literally just good, harmless fun. That's the best the BBC can come up with. Good, harmless fun. And considering the other stuff they come out with, I think it's a net negative at the moment. I'm afraid, Walker, you're not working for the best. Former England football star Lineker, who also presented the Beebs Match of the Day, retweeted an image from BBC Press Office that shows the content viewers get when they pay for the licence fee. The 61-year-old later wrote sarcastically, "Yes, the BBC brings you the best in news, in sport, in drama, in music, in children's, in science, in history, in entertainment, in current affairs, and Sir David Bloody Attenborough. But apart from that, what has the BBC ever done for us?" Obviously riffing off another BBC show, Monty Python, although that comes from one of the films which had to be privately funded because the BBC wouldn't fund it. There you go. Well, one of the best comedy films ever made. Life of Brian, he took that joke from, and the BBC wouldn't even fund that. Instead, it had to be privately funded, and it's the best thing they ever did. Interestingly enough, it was actually funded by George Harrison, of all people. So it appears that outside funding can make great things as well. Completely undermined his own point. He then retweeted a video from 1986 TV licence advert. "What has the BBC ever done for us?" adding, "The BBC is revered, respected and envied around the world." I really don't know how true that is. They say that about the NHS and it never turns out to be true. It just turns out every country has something better. "It should be the most treasured of national treasures, something true patriots of our country should be proud of." It should never be the voice of those in government or whoever is in power. Oh my days. Yeah, the issue is, though, is that it's been the voice of Blairism since Blair got in. It appears in the modern world, the digital age they keep calling it, of, YouTube, of Twitter, of all that. People are getting their entertainment from elsewhere, and the BBC simply can't keep up with it. And it's not like the BBC are only pushing out crap nowadays. There are some good shows, like Ghosts, for example. That's pretty good, made by the Horrible Histories people. And they've also got the Goes Wrong show, a show where a polytechnic bunch of university drama students basically put on a show and things in the show keep messing up, and trust me, it's very funny. That blurb's really bland, but it is like one of the funniest shows I've seen. So it's not like the BBC are only putting out crap. The problem is that their flagship shows are purely putting out crap. Finally, Love Actually actor Hugh Grant shared his thoughts on possible plans and tweeted, "The BBC is something the whole world admires with envy. I just don't think that's true. It is entirely appropriate that the insecure, spittle-flecked nutjobs of this government want to destroy it." Comedian Nish Kumar, 36, oh my god, also wrote, "I know that it feels like absolutely everybody hates the BBC right now, but there are good reasons for that. But ending the licence fee is bad news." You know this thing that everyone hates and you're forced to pay for? Yeah, I think not forcing you to pay it is the wrong thing to do. You can be really funny sometimes, Nish. Comic Rachel Parris highlighted the educational benefits which the BBC provides and weighed in, "Just a reminder that the BBC licence fee doesn't just pay for Strictly, CBeebies, GCSE Bite Size, The Proms, Radio 6 Music, Popmaster, Attenborough and the World Service, as well as the News Where You Are." I mean, this is the thing. Basically, all these actors are saying the same thing. All these people by the BBC are obviously defending it, and they're coming up with the same type of crap that people come up with when it comes to the NHS. Oh, look at the good they do. They save lives, Oh, it's envy of the world. And then it turns out that most of that isn't true. I remember my GCSE A-levels and all that, and I think I used Bite Size once for my GCSEs, and I think that was for Spanish because I was really bad at it. And it still didn't help me get above a C. And yes, of course, they do come with a news service, but, I mean, Sargon of Akkad's or Carl Benjamin showing how easy it is just to come up with an alternative news source, and shows how, if you're a good news source, people will pay for it. The Lotus Eaters is still going strong. And finally, of course, The Guardian is doing their best to try and defend this. I'm obviously going to save this for Saturday for laughing at The Guardian. But Polly Toynbee, who used to work at the BBC and now works at The Guardian, and just for context, The Guardian's main print sales are straight to the BBC. And she says the BBC must defend itself with all its might against this mortal threat. I think this is going to be the first article I go through on Saturday. Because since it's an ex-BBC employee hired by The Guardian, she is probably one of the worst people imaginable when it comes to opinions. Not in terms of evil or anything like that, but just plain silliness. And so I think it's about time we find out what Joe Public think about this. And generally it's basically how I've been commenting. Generally people aren't fans of the BBC licence fee. And for my sample, which is by no way conclusive, I decided to look at two local papers in two different boroughs in Manchester, being Bolton and Oldham. So some respondents were quite positive about the BBC, with one saying that they love the BBC and use iPlayer a lot, more so than watching actual telly. Again, in my shoes, I'm just like, we'll get Amazon Prime because they've got repeats of BBC shows that are really good. I wouldn't like to see it change. I'd like to see it continue to thrive because I love listening to BBC Radio. And this is the thing. Alright, if you like these things, yes, I can understand why you'd want it funded. But the thing is, I like listening to Lotus Eaters, so what do? I give them money. It's not like the BBC licence fee is the only way we can keep the BBC up and running. But people seem to think that this is the only way it can be funded, because some, again, pro-positive BBC ones are saying, oh, it's £3 a week and it's excellent value for money, and that's entirely dependent on people. That doesn't mean you should be forced to pay it. Another one says they don't want it scrapped if it degrades the quality of the BBC. Well, if you pay for it, it won't. And the last one says, well, I can't live without BBC Radio 6 or 5 Live, as if there aren't alternative radio stations that report on the football and play music. But of course, most of these articles are generally from people who are anti-BBC, and especially anti-BBC licence fee. And a lot of these people are basically saying the same thing, that, oh, well, if we don't have a licence fee, surely they can just survive on adverts like every single other broadcaster. And I think that's a decent alternative, because they're saying as well they just don't care for the repeats. And as I say, they don't think £3 a week is worth the money for the BBC, because let's be honest, a lot of people don't generally watch the BBC. A lot of people are now getting their entertainment from Spotify, from YouTube, just from everywhere else, because it's a lot more personable to them. You don't need to say wait to 6 o'clock to see the headlines. You can just see them online now, and you can listen to videos if you really want about them as well. And the other big hope I have for this as well is I hope it pushes the shows I used to love from the BBC back into gear. Doctor Who's been terrible since Peter Capaldi. I mean, we're talking over 5 years of crap from Doctor Who here. Sketch shows and comedies seem to be a bit less edgy. And while before my example Ghost, it is a very funny show, but there are still episodes where they're really trying to push modernist agendas. Such as the ghost that died in the 1900s who was very homophobic. Oh, at the end of one of the episodes, she's learnt that being homophobic's bad. Without any real nuance in the episode about why she has these attitudes, about her side of why she's homophobic, other than she's just a bigot, ha ha ha. Basically, the writing from that episode was much to be desired, but it was still funny. Just mainly due to jokes outside that storyline. Because let's be honest, she's one of the younger ghosts. And everyone else would probably be a lot more judgmental about the fact that there is a gay marriage going on in the house they haunt. But anyway, what I think's funniest about all this, that I've left till last, as mentioned before, The Guardian's print media, half of it is sold to the BBC. They basically rely on the BBC to make money. And so obviously they've gone a bit in panic mode and they've said, oh, don't worry, people will still be about. Here's what could replace the BBC licence fee. And what I find funny about this is that they've dedicated an entire article to this. This would usually be kind of a footnote of an article explaining that the BBC licence fee is going in 5 years. This isn't something you dedicate an entire article to unless you were panicking about it. And some of them start from outright taxation, so the first two are basically the same. Charge a levy on every broadband connection, so if you have a broadband connection, there's going to be a tax on that goes straight to the BBC. An alternative is to just have the government give them money, which again is the same thing as just putting a levy on. Like, they still need to fund these things. But again, I don't see why money that came out of my income should go straight to the BBC. That's actually worse than what we've got now. And again, they say charge a special tax on income to fund public service media. Again, that's worse than what we have now. There's no choice there. Like, what if I don't like the public service they're doing? I don't have a choice but to fund that now. Like, thanks. This so far has been the best option. Turn the BBC into a subscription service, a la Netflix and Amazon Prime. Yes, that's what everyone is saying. That makes the most sense. Well, that's kind of what the BBC is at the moment anyway, in a kind of roundabout way. It's just that it's a forced subscription service. But I don't see why owning a TV that is connected up to an aerial means that I need to pay for the BBC licence fee. Just have it so that the channels aren't available. I don't watch them enough to justify it. Anyway, finally we move on to my favourite option, abolish the BBC altogether. With news increasingly distributed through Facebook-owned social media platforms, Piers Morgan about to launch television channel Talk TV on behalf of Rupert Murdoch, and the growing popularity of private sector radio stations such as LBC, do we really need the BBC? The government could simply follow the US model, let the free market take control and allow private companies to shape the nationals' media consumption. And what makes me laugh so hard about this one is that they are inadvertently saying that people do not want the Guardian news-fed BBC. They are admitting that if people are given the free choice on these things, the BBC and the Guardian would probably fail. And they put all these things in like, oh, LBC, you hate that. Oh, Rupert Murdoch, you hate that, man. Piers Morgan? You want Piers Morgan being your new BBC? Oh, jeez. What is wrong with you? That's what the Guardian is saying to you. And what I love is that they're saying, like, oh, it's a US-based system, the free market. As if Britain wasn't doing that throughout the Industrial Revolution, and it wasn't until World War II where we stepped away from it. As if it wasn't what brought the world basically out of poverty. For God's sake, Guardian. So anyway, I think that's everything I had for you today. We seem to have a big white pill here. The BBC is going, and hopefully it changes its tune and doesn't keep hating the British, and isn't just used as a tool to push agendas, which is basically all it seems to be doing. And people don't stand for it. People don't want to pay for it. So there we go. White pill of the day for you. And as I said, that's everything I had for you today. So as usual, thank you very much for watching. And until next time, goodbye.